Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or it's 2 a.m. Good morning. This is Eagle Eyes on Tech, and I am Eagle Falcon, and a Merry Christmas to you. If you are hearing this on launch day, you have 4 days to go get Christmas presents if you forgot about them. If you didn't forget about them, good for you. So now that I've given plenty of procrastinators a heart attack, let's actually get with the program today. So, first things first, and this is basically nothing that I'm going to be talking about for the next 3 minutes. Maybe not even that long. While I was going through and just kind of checking boards at random for fun, on 4chan, there's a common thread that keeps coming up, and that's comparing the 3 desktop and laptop operating systems to something. Sometimes it's a flowchart, sometimes it's something inappropriate. In this case, it was food. And it said that Windows was McDonald's, Apple was sushi, and Linux was garbage. First off, this is wildly inaccurate. Windows being an operating system that requires the user to actually know a decent amount of how to use the computer is more like Hamburger Helper. It's there, it's basically a meal in a box, but you need some knowledge how to use it. Mac OS is more like going out to Ponderosa and just quickly getting a meal. It's all there, you don't have to do anything other than just show up and say, I want this done. There it is, and on top of that, your cost is a lot higher. Linux is more like growing food directly from the ground and having control over every single step of the food becoming food. So why did I bring this up? Well, it's very simple. This analogy was stupid. I'm getting mind-blowingly sick of comparisons like this, trying to compare operating systems to food or products to cars or things like that. Sometimes it works, especially trying to explain how processors work to someone who doesn't know how processors work. Like, it's very easy to go, well, what does 4 cores mean? Well, basically it means it's like a 4-cylinder engine. Oh, that doesn't sound very good. Well, it's going to be better than a dual core, which would be like a 2-cylinder engine. Oh, okay. What does the clock speed mean? How much horsepower it puts out? That works. And that's one of the few analogies that do work. Comparing operating systems to food is retarded, and I wish it would stop. And I don't care if you're offended by the word retarded, because the whole concept of comparing food to operating systems or vice versa is just incredibly stupid and deserves such extreme words like that. Okay? I've now got that out of the way. That has been bothering me all day. I could have just let it go like I do every other time. But anyway, one other question I was asked during the day, and actually it was yesterday, before heading out to see a movie. You get 3 guesses as to which movie it was, and the first 2 don't count. Someone asked me, what's the best all-in-one? And much to my surprise, I couldn't come up with an answer. Mainly because I don't really look at all-in-ones. There's very few reasons to go for an all-in-one, but they are valid reasons, as opposed to buying a pre-constructed desktop from Dell or Alienware or iBuyPower. Oh, and I got a rip on iBuyPower. Don't let me forget that later. Actually, I'm going to get the iBuyPower thing out of the way right now. When I was out Christmas shopping on Thursday, after I got off work, I went out to Best Buy and quickly got a few gift cards for a few guys I know that are into tech things, and just, they're not way into it like a system builder would, but that's just like, oh, they could definitely go out and get a set of headphones. Which ones? Oh, I'll let them figure it out. That sort of thing. And while I was there, I decided, oh, I'll just look around. Let's see what's at the booths now, because they've remapped out the entire Best Buy. And at the Windows section, I was surprised to see that iBuyPower actually had a few computers for sale in the physical store. iBuyPower, for those who don't know, are a couple of nerds who basically go on Newegg, get parts, put a system together, and then charge 50% more to sell it online on iBuyPower.com or through other outlets like Amazon or eBay. Since Best Buy started having a marketplace that system builders could start selling stuff, iBuyPower started showing up on the marketplace, like pretty much everyone else did. To see iBuyPower's stuff in an actual physical store was just kind of, wow, really? These guys are worthy of being in the mainstream stores? Really? And the worst part was that the system they had in there, it's a full-size tower. This thing stands 20 inches off the ground. It's almost as big as my high-end workstation I've got here. And you look inside, because it's got a plexiglass window or whatever the material is, you look inside it, it's a mini ITX board. A super tiny board. Like, this thing takes up 1/5 of the space inside this thing. Another 1/5 of the space is taken up by the hard drives and power supplies combined, which means that 3/5 of this stupid case is wasted. This is insane. Anyone who has ever built a system knows you never do this unless you're doing something crazy like water cooling, where you want extra space, or using really massive air cooling systems. So you have a lot of ambient space that can be heated up before it's pumped out through the rear. This was none of that. This was an Intel stock cooler with a Core i5, and it was a GTX 960 in it. From MSI, by the way. It wasn't even like the stock one and they slapped their name on it. No, it's just straight up an MSI card. It was even an MSI board. This might as well have been an MSI system, except it was in an NXTZ case. And it just had like one of those 3D plastic things that says iBuyPower just glued on the front of it. It was so lazy. I could do better in my sleep. And the fact that this is now what passes to be at a Best Buy store, surprisingly, that's a new low. It really is. But anyway, back to the topic of all-in-ones. So, what is the reason to get an all-in-one? The reason mainly is that you want a stationary desktop for whatever reason. In this case, the person that asked me had a small little desk space in their dining room they wanted to have just so that their daughter could look up stuff. But they didn't want to get... they pondered getting a laptop. I should be perfectly honest here. They pondered getting a laptop, but they also wanted to kind of be a base station so that all their iPhones and iPads and whatnot could connect to it and sync. And so I just kind of stumbled there, kind of dumbfounded, and just kind of gave the basic sort of stuff, usually avoid like the Inspiron 3000 or 5000 series most days, because it's usually low-end stuff. If something seems too good to be true, most likely it is, blah, 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 blah. Oh, and avoid Acer. No offense, Acer, you just bite. So, I decided that, I should go look this up. Much to my surprise, the all-in-one lineup, there's a lot of products out there that are still on 4th generation. Only recently did Dell, the gold standard for mediocrity, finally update some of their lines with 6th generation stuff. So, I'm going to start with the Dell Optiplexes. We've got a Dell Optiplex 3000 series, which is low tier, and Dell Optiplex 7000 series, which is high tier. For those who don't understand now how Dell does everything, basically everything now goes 3000, 5000, 7000 series. 3,000 is lowest tier, 5,000 is mid tier, and 7,000 is highest tier. Why 3,000, 5,000, 7,000? Because Intel did Core i3, i5, i7. That is the only reason that I can possibly think of that they did this. Is this a good decision? Is it a bad decision? I don't know. It honestly took me months to finally figure out the method to Dell's insanity. So, we're going to start with the Optiplex 22-3000. Or the actual whole model number is the 3240. The 3 is the series, the 2 is the screen size, and the 4 is the generation. So this is the 4th generation of using this retarded numbering system. Anyway, this thing is a 22-inch screen. It's got several different models for the hinge on it. I mean, it basically looks like a flat screen monitor, except it's thicker. You know, pretty much like all-in-ones do. You got USBs on the side. It's got, Core i3, Core i5 in there. It's just going to be the basic SICK. You can have up to a terabyte in there, up to 16 gigs of DDR3 memory in there. It's pretty by the books when push comes to shove. You do get built-in wireless, except at the absolute cheapest model. It comes with a 65-watt processor in there. So it's a full desktop processor, not any sort of gimped-down mobile processor that you'd see on the low-end iMacs. But they do use a 2.5-inch drive. Unlike Apple, though, they use 7,200 RPM hard drives, like you're supposed to. Hint, hint, Apple. Anyway, bitterness aside at Apple making stupid decisions, that's basically what it boils down to. You have a fixed stand, there's an adjustable one, and that's it. The biggest problem I have with this one is that it's 100% plastic. And it's a business one, so it's not really built for style. So in the case of the customer I was talking to, I wouldn't recommend it. You can look at it if you want, but no, I would stay clear of this one. So let's move on to the 7000 one, which is the 7440. This is a 24-inch model. However, it's basically going to be the same thing. You got a Core i5 in there, you got bigger hard drive. It's a bigger screen. You can even get it up to a 4K touchscreen. It's all nice and that, but again... Oh, and these actually do have AMD cards for options there. So there is that too. And there are wireless options, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and all that jazz. With the touchscreen, that could actually be really cool. With the adjustable screen, so that you can kind of adjust it like an old school G4 iMac, and just kind of bend it down a little bit, have it a 45-degree angle, and just use an on-screen keyboard. And because you've got Windows 10 on there, you're actually going to have a halfway decent on-screen keyboard, and it's going to respond to the touch functions a lot better. So, I actually like that part of it. The thing I don't like about it, it's not very pretty. It's pretty much matte black. It's a magnesium alloy sort of thing, but there's a lot of plastic on here. Like, a lot. Like, wow. So, yep, I'd steer clear of that one too. Which is kind of a shame. Usually the Optiplexes are usually a nice gold standard for just kind of being above average. And to see those two just being really disappointing as far as the build construction, maybe they are much more solid with a teardown. Find out there's like a roll cage or something crazy in there, but it doesn't look like it. So next up, we go to the Inspiron line. And these you've always got to be careful with, because the Inspirons are notorious for being terrible. So, the Inspiron 20-3000, all in one. On the plus side, it's kind of nice, small, compact, and has a bit of uses. It starts at dirt cheap at $300 Celeron, but it's at that low price. It's only 2 gigs of memory, so don't do that. Go up higher, get the 431. This is all plastic. And also in the case of the person I was talking about, I would avoid it just because of its stand model. All it has is a rear kickstand. And this could be cute in certain scenarios. In most, I would just avoid it, flat out. It could be like a cute little thing if you had the skills to try and mount it. I'm pretty sure there's some way to get that back off and that stand and kind of get a classic 4-point and put it on a rotating arm. That'd be kind of cool. And they do have touchscreen options for this. So, for the cost and capability, it could be a fun little project, but just on its own, no, don't do it. Same thing falls with the 24-inch model. Same story, you got a speaker bar on the bottom, it's all plastic, there's a kickstand bridge on the back of it. Fortunately, the 24-inch one has higher-end processors on it. Starts at 480. It could be interesting. But, yeah. Oh yeah, and these Inspiron ones, of course, have 5,400 RPM hard drives. Well, I don't like Apple doing that. So why the heck would I like Dell doing it? Nobody should do it. Stop using 5,400 RPM hard drives. It's going on 2016 now. We are moving on from slow, terrible, inefficient, power-wasting hard drives that don't move fast enough. If you're going to be a hard drive, then keep up with the rest of the world. Moving on. If you're really desperate to... Oh, wait, no, these are even more expensive. There's an AMD version of the Inspiron 24s as well. They're more expensive than their Intel versions. There's no reason to get these. Pass. Move on. Now we move on to the Inspiron 24 5000 series. These look more like an iMac competitor. The other ones don't. They're either chunkier or use the kickstand model, which nobody should be using the kickstand model anymore. Stop using the kickstand models. I'm going to be saying that a lot because I know HP loves that design too, and they should die in a fire. So these start at a lot more expensive. They start at $750, but you get a lot more for it. You start at 12 gigs of RAM, which is overkill. You get a 1 terabyte hard drive, which is at 5,400 RPM. I don't need to rant at that again. It does have a nice two-tone silver and black, but the stand isn't very adjustable. It's just tilt. Pretty much just like the iMacs. And while that's good enough most days, the world can do better than this. And I really wish Apple would do better than this too. They've been stuck on just the tilt hinge for the longest time. Just because it looks nice to them, I guess. But again, that design was done way back in... God, 2004? That's 12 years ago. Well, right now it's 11 years ago. But still, it's late 2015. It's basically 2016 now. Come on. Grow up. Let's actually try to come up with a better hinge design. Apple already did way back in 2002. And then they dumped that. Anyway. Then we come to the Inspiron 7024. This is what I'm talking about. We've got a dual hinge system here. One at the base of it, and one at the screen portion of it. So you can basically do almost anything to this. as long as you're willing to move the actual base around. The base is where the computer is stored. Very similar to the iMac G4, but unlike the iMac G4, it is very slim. It's basically like a laptop profile, which looks really, really nice. Now the thing is that unlike the laptop profile, they've actually got full-sized processors in here. So you're not sacrificing anything by going to this design. They all start at 1920 by 1080, pretty much just like everything else I've talked about. They start at 8 gigs of RAM. But again, 5400 RPM hard drives. Ugh. However, on the higher end ones, you do get an NVIDIA GeForce 940M graphic card. So there's that. You do get some a little bit of minor gaming capability. That could be interesting. But that's all it boils down to. That's actually the one I like the most out of the Inspirons. But you're also basically holding a gun to my head and saying pick an Inspiron. Honestly, when it really comes down to it, Dell doesn't have a whole lot of good options for all-in-ones. If you had to pick one, go with the 24-7000. In fact, actually, I want to take a look here. Are these configurable? Is there an option to configure one? No, there is not. That's another big... ugh. It's not like these things have the hard drive soldered on. I would have really loved to have seen an option to go, hey, you know what? Maybe I'd like a 32 gig SSD in there instead of a terabyte. Never thought of that? I guess not. So that's pretty much it for Dell. They do make a XPS line, which is their higher end consumer line. But the XPS line at this time is still on Haswell processors. So, wah, wah. You can go with it, but it's not going to be the new models. And considering the fact they haven't updated them yet, that's a really good sign that they are rethinking the entire layout of the XPSs. So we can expect something actually good out of Dell when they do that. Alright, that's it for Dell. We've still got HP and Lenovo to look through, and there is a lot of HP to look through for all-in-ones. So I'll be right back, guys. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I am Eagle Falcon. So, let's start with the HP Pavilions. So naturally, HP would make an all-in-one series based on the Pavilion line. Here is the weird thing. There are roughly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10... 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 different HP Pavilions that are all-in-ones. All of them with different screen sizes. Now, there are some that are like 26.5, 21.5, 19.5. It's all slight variations. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm not even going to go through any of them because they're all 4th generation or AMD processors. Right now, I don't think I've ranted enough about AMD's processors actually on this podcast. So, right now, you should not, under any circumstances, get anything with an AMD processor in it. At least in the PC world. The reason being is that the AMD CPUs perform a lot less than the Intel ones. It used to be that AMD, while they were slower than Intel processors, still cost less than the Intel ones. For whatever reason that baffles everyone, AMD loses on performance per dollar. You spend more money with AMD to get less performance, which is even worse when AMD's highest chip can't even hold a candle up to Intel's highest chip as far as performance. It's really kind of fascinating. The only thing that AMD chips really do better is the fact that their integrated graphic card is a lot better, because AMD actually also controls ATI, which actually makes good graphic cards. Whereas Intel's, well, you can't get more bare basic than an Intel integrated graphic card. Let's just say that. So, that's really short for the HP Pavilion line. Tough luck. Their build was very similar to the iMacs anyway, and that's not too surprising, seeing as how most days HP tries to be Apple. Now, let's actually move on to the higher end consumer all-in-ones. This being the Envy line. And we've actually got quite a few here. First, I'm just gonna start with the smallest one. The Envy all-in-one 24-inch. It's a metal body. You've got dual stereo. Yeah, don't email me and say that there's no such thing as stereo speakers. Stereo speakers. And they're branded by someone, I don't care who. They're still just going to be okay or above average speakers. If you're going to be a real audiophile like that, you're still going to hook up your own speakers. Don't even kid yourself. Anyway, it is a touchscreen. It does come with a wireless keyboard and mouse. It is 6th generation Core i5s based, 8 gigs of RAM, and all for $850. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Granted, it's an Intel integrated graphic card, but for your basic use, it's just fine. But here's where everything starts to fall apart. For starters, 5400 RPM SATA hard drive. Again, why? Why do people still make 5400 RPM SATA hard drives? Just stop. Stop doing this. I already ranted enough on it. I'm ignoring it. It's there. Just be aware it's there. But anyway, this thing looks really nice and slick on the back. It's basically pearly white on the back. The thing's pretty much an all-metal construction. There's a little bit of plastic features on there. There's a nice vent right at the top, so the thing's going to breathe nicely. The only big problem I have with it is its stand. It uses these dual stabilizing V's on either side. And in fact, it looks like I could practically punch the thing right in the face and it's not going to knock over. But it's not adjustable. One of the things that really makes a touch all-in-one really work really well is the fact that you could adjust it. Like, say, I'm 6'5" or 6'4". I'm 6 foot something. I'm tall. I can adjust it so that I'd be looking down at it as though it were a table and play with it that way. Someone else who's shorter than me, they could adjust it to their height, make it more upright so they're staring directly at it and use it that way. There's no adjusting this. And that's kind of a bummer. So naturally, we're going to move on to the HP Envy 27. And a lot of it's just going to be repeating the same thing. It's 1080p screen. It has the same sort of design. It's still got the 2 V's. Comes with a wireless keyboard. I mean, it's okay. It definitely looks nice. Looks nicer than a lot of the Dell ones. It definitely stands out. It's just not adjustable. And when you're shelling out $1,000, or over $1,000 in this case, you kind of want that ability. Now this one, of course, is 27 inches. It's still 1920 by 1080. It's still, you know, a basic... We've got a 6th generation Core i5 in there. We've still got Intel HD graphics in there. Nothing real impressive. So, naturally, whatever's up next is also going to be disappointing, since whatever is up next is also in the NV line. Yes and no. Up next is the HP Envy 34-inch. This thing is huge. A 34-inch all-in-one? Who's heard of that? Well, HP has one. What's even neater about it is that it's curved. The screen is curved to bow around you. That's what makes this one really fascinating. And actually also makes me wonder if just the dual V's on the side's enough. I can't see why it wouldn't. But I guess it doesn't really matter because it also looks like this is not touchscreen capable. But in any case, this actually looks really cool. I like this design. I again wish that there was some way that this was adjustable. Now, there's two things of note besides the fact it's a curved screen. One is that this uses an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 960A graphic card. This is the first time I've heard of a 960A. So, how does it compare? Well, it's about 2/3 to 1/2 of a GTX 960. So it's basically a gimped down GTX 960. What is interesting is that it's considered a laptop part. Not too surprising. But it's a different spec than the GTX 960M. It's actually a higher wattage. It's all the way up to 75 watts. So why go with this model number? I don't know. I have no idea. It's just there. So it has a custom chip on it, basically. More and more people seem to be moving to custom chips, somehow bribing NVIDIA and AMD to make them custom chips. The other thing of note is in their features page. HP says that this design has already won awards. The award being the CES Innovation Awards. It won the Best of Innovation at CES. CES is the Consumer Electronics Show that occurs at the beginning of the year. Each year. So, in about, 4 weeks is when CES 2016 starts. Last January was CES 2015. The reason I bring up this detail is because the award that HP claims this has won is for 2016. This thing has won an award for a consumer electronics show that has not occurred yet. So either this means that there's going to be something very, very fishy going on at the CES and who's handing out the awards. Because I know there was a big skedaddle with CNET doing it a few years ago. Or HP is lying. Don't think I'm going to forget this. I'm going to be keeping a very, very, very close eye on this when CES rolls out in a few weeks. But anyway, this is it for the consumer ones. None of them really stand out to me as ones that I'd really want, mainly because if I'm going to get a touchscreen all-in-one, I'm definitely going to want that sort of flexible arm that the Dell 7000 did. None of the Envies have that, but some of them do make really nice, kind of sort of mini TVs that are also disguised as computers. So there's that. I don't know. If you don't mind your all-in-one not being adjustable at all, definitely go for the Envies, because they are spectacular. The price matches the kind of quality they got, but you're sacrificing on that adjustable screen quite a bit. And this 34-inch one does look really nice. I got nothing against it other than, why does this thing have an award that's not even out yet? Anyway, we're moving on to the HP Professional lines. We'll start with HP Pro. We have the HP Pro 400 and 600. The HP Pro 400, I'm not going to lie, it looks like an HP monitor. I mean, it is what it is. It's kind of boring to look at. It's more adjustable than every other all-in-one HP's had so far. But that's it. It's there. The end. Okay, let's actually get to some features. You do have 6th generation Intel Core processor in here. You do have a speaker bar built into the bottom that has DTS Studios, whatever. It has speakers. They're branded, but they're still speakers. Get over yourselves. And that's basically all it is. It comes with wired stuff. The 600 series. First off, this site is terrible at loading. Second, I like this design a bit better. There's a lot of edges on this. It actually looks more like what I'd expect a business product to. It's a bit chunkier. There's air vents all over the place. It looks like a better product, but if you're going to get it for the home, I'd do the 400. And that's really all there is to it. This one has wireless capability, the other one doesn't. And for whatever reason, HP was drunk when doing some of the layouts in the pictures. And I'm not even kidding. They have one showcasing this thing where they have a female secretary sitting and working in front of the all-in-one. And then there's two things wrong with this picture. One, the woman is looking clearly above the screen. She's clearly not looking at this. She is looking straight ahead over the edge of this monitor. She's looking at something completely different. She doesn't care what's on the screen at all. That's how boring this is. The person working on it doesn't even want to look at it. The other thing that's baffling is that immediately behind this this all-in-one, there's a computer tower. Who looked at this and said, yep, we need to do this? And the best part is that this picture has the caption of, keep everything in sight. Keep all your work in plain sight and be 35% more productive. She's being 100% less productive. She's not looking at it. Come on. And why is there a tower? What is this tower connected to? It's not connected to anything. Oh. Now, why am I mentioning any specs? The reason I haven't mentioned any specs is because HP still needs to fire whoever makes this site. Because their main page for overviewing these two products says nothing about the specs other than they have start at this, they have they have 6th generation Intel Core processors, and that's basically it. And that they have options for hard drives and SSDs. I have no idea if these things have 5400 or 7200 RPM hard drives. And if I go to Shop Pro, I get brought to a master page where I then got to go through and go, all right, shop online. No. Where was the stuff I was just looking at? Oh, I guess it's got to be Shop Pro 1. At least I hope it's Pro 1. And thank God, there it was. And now I can finally look at all of the units. The problem is that as I'm looking at the units, I notice something. None of these are the products I was just looking at. None of them. They're all 4th generation stuff. All the stuff I was just looking at said they were 6th generation. And this one Pro 1 here looks like a tablet in front of a keyboard. It doesn't look anything like the thing I was looking at. It looks like it used the stupid kickstand method again. It's just... what is this? Oh, and they just have just the stand. There. Here's a few way down here that have the stupid handle design on the bottom that HP was so fond of, and they need to be punched in the face for ever liking that design. That was the worst thing to ever blight the planet. At least in tech-wise. So again, there's that. So then we move on to the Elite family, which we have the HP Elite 1 800, which is a 23-inch screen, and that's all it says. I go to Overview, and the page times out. I go to Details, and I'm taken back to the home page of Business Products. Look, HP. I know guys who can help you. I know one, he was just hired on for another project. As soon as he's finished with them, you know, just give me a call. Just give me a call. I'll let him know that you need someone who knows HTML. That you need someone who needs basic website planning. You need help. You need help badly. This is atrocious. I have better odds of finding out information from Amazon. From now on, I'm just going to call you HP the Failure. Or Failure Site. I'll come up with something. I know I've got Dell as the gold standard for mediocrity because they are. I mean, they pretty much are. They are the best at being mediocre. HP is just... what are you doing, HP? Alright, moving on. That's all I can tell you about the HP Elite, which is a dang shame. I am, however, going to move on to the second most interesting all-in-one HP has. And even if this is out of your price range, which it is out of the price range for almost every American, look up the HP Z1. This is an all-in-one workstation. A workstation, for those of you who don't know, is a class of computer that is designed for producers, for people who do video editing, who design, who do engineering design, who do photo edit, anyone who needs high-end computing power looks for a workstation class product. These things are loaded to the gills with the highest-end processors, the highest-end professional graphic cards. These are ones where they look at the GeForce and the Radeons, the ones we use for gaming, and go, no, screw those. I want Quadros. I want these ones with tons of video RAM that are absolutely needed for their research projects. That's what a workstation is. To fit all that into an all-in-one is quite the accomplishment, especially since most people who also get a workstation plan on using it for upwards of 10 years or until there's some huge breakthrough. Not that I know anything about that. By the way, my Dell Precision workstation is still kicking. From 2008. Anyway. So what makes this thing fascinating is its design. It looks pretty mediocre. You got a big square screen. It's touchscreen. It's 27 inches. It is 27 inches, right? Once again, I'm having trouble finding out because of the stupid site design. The last generation was 27 inches. I can't imagine that they'd go smaller on this. Oh my god, this is infuriating. Like, I'm not even kidding. I can't find it right now. You know what? I'm just going to bring up the Shop Now page. But anyway, I mean, it's a big, huge, blocky front. It comes to sharp edges on the back. It kind of concaves on the back. On the very, it looks like an old LCD monitor. They got too big for its own britches. But they fit an entire workstation in here. You got plenty of ports. You got a flexible stand, dual hinge system, very similar to what the Inspiron 7000 uses. But what's really fascinating about this one is upgradability. All-in-ones, normally if something goes wrong, there's very little you can do to upgrade the components. The hard drive dies, you're basically SOL. You've usually got to take like suction cups to the front glass and take it off. That's one of the big downsides to an all-in-one. Usually. There are some exceptions to it. This one, there are actually hydraulic spokes that you flip a switch on the bottom of the screen when it's perfectly flat, and you can lift up the entire screen portion of the all-in-one like the hood of a car. And that's not some sort of analogy. It is literally like the hood of a car. Goes straight from flat up, going up 90 degrees. And on the inside there's your components. You've got the power supply, you've got the graphic card, you've got your 4 RAM slots using full-sized desktop RAM, ECC. You've got the processor socket, which can go up to Xeons. You've got a module that's just the graphic card on there. It's amazing. And I am stunned that HP's still the only one who does this. It's such a beautiful design. And it just makes me wish it was done more often. Man. By the way, even trying to buy one, you can't even tell what the blasted screen size is. I am not even kidding. In fact, I've been taken to their old school store layout that I thought died. And it doesn't say what the screen size is. I think I've actually got to download the system specs PDF to find out. Oh my god. Okay, it is a 27-inch display at 2560 by 1440. My god. Was it really that hard? Ugh. I need a minute. I need a minute to get over how crazy the layout of HP's site is and how much they keep treating their frickin' professional buyers like frickin' children who don't need to know things. I'll be back. Okay, I'm calm now. So, one last thing to talk about involving HP. And that is this... I don't even know what you'd call this. I guess it's technically an all-in-one. It can still be used as an all-in-one. But it's called the HP Sprout. Basically what this is that it's an all-in-one computer with this, like, platform in front of it and this unique camera display pointed at this platform, And it basically scans 3D objects. And then you hook it up to a 3D printer, and then, like, let's say I have, let's say I take, like, the case to my phone, which I'm now holding that you can't see. Let's say I put that on there, I can then scan it, and then I then, in a CAD program, have the design for this case. I could then go print out one, but it would just be made of solid plastic, not the heavy-duty plastic and the rubber that this one's made of, so it wouldn't be as good. But I could go in then and then add, like, property of Eagle Falcon or Eagle Falcon's awesome phone and have that engraved into the back of the case. Do kind of cool things like that. Or if, like, I don't know, let's say you just wanted, like, a fancy fork or something, you could scan a fork and then add a custom design to it. It's a cool concept. I don't know if we're there yet, nor do I know how well this works. And it's something that's just very fascinating. And they have, like, pictures of, like, people having their face scanned by it, which could be rather interesting. They've got other concepts about how this could be used in medicine and all sorts of real cool things. And while it's not something I'd recommend anyone get now for home use, it's definitely something to keep an eye on that could be really cool down the line. So, in any case, let's move on to the last company that has all-in-ones I'm going to look at. There are others. I choose not to look at them. We're going to start with Lenovo, or we're going to continue on to Lenovo. Lenovo has the B series all-in-one, the A series all-in-one, the C series all-in-one, and one last thing I'll get to after that. So let's start with the B series. The B series is kind of interesting in the fact that it uses a V-style stand, like it's a TV almost. And that's about it. It's nice and sleek looking. No, I actually take that back. They just had a very deceptive picture. The moment I bring it... Okay, here's the thing. At the very top, it looks very thin and very slick. And then you finally look to the side of it, and it's like 2 inches thick. It's just like this top section of it that that's like laptop screen thin. Oh, that's terrible. I don't like this design one bit now that the remaining picture is loaded to see how this thing looks. Oh, this is gross. It looks nice from the front. Oh god, this is the strangest optical illusion. Alright, so yeah, I hate that. They have various screen sizes of this. They're all terrible. They're also on 4th generation processors. Let's move on. Alright, then we got the A series. Oh, come on. This loading speed is terrible. Alright, so we got the A series, which looks a lot more... What the heck? Oh my god. I'm trying to look at these pictures, and the moment they come up, they just go away right away. Okay, this actually, finally now I got this to load. This actually looks very similar to the Dell Inspiron 7000 series, where it's a double hinge, but the hinge is lower more towards the bottom of the screen than it is in the middle, like it is on the Inspiron. This actually looks a lot thinner too. Like, this looks a lot more like a screen design than it does an all-in-one. Like, just me looking at it right now, I'm wondering where the heck they put the components. Which does make me think that this is all using laptop parts, and I am right. I go right down there, and I see the U next to all the parts numbers. ultra low voltage, all that jazz, mobile graphic cards. You know, honestly though, I'm okay with it. Oh, and then I saw what hard drive they put in there. Never mind, I hate this thing. It's got a 5100 RPM hard drive in there, plus it's using 4th generation processors. I hate this thing. Okay, well, I don't hate it, but before it was about to be a strong recommendation for me, just on looks alone, and being pretty much at that borderline of, yeah, it's fast enough to do basic things on there, but I wouldn't use it for any sort of high-end tasks like gaming. It kind of hit that nice special area, and then I saw what hard drive it had in there, and I was just like, nope, you're dead to me now. Then we move on to the C series. Ugh. This looks slicker. This looks nicer than the first ones I looked at, which was so bad that I already forgot what the letter it stood for. But it still uses that V thing. How does Lenovo keep doing this? This is the same thing. This is the same thing, except with a slightly newer processor in there. It's the same stupid, it's thin at the top and then bulges out at the remaining 4/5 of the device. It gives the optical illusion that from the front it's thin and sleek. And then, oh god, ah. Oh, this is both frustrating and I can't help but marvel at the nonsense this photographer got away with. It's absolutely fascinating what they did here. Oh, god dang it. Like, I'm not even... You really gotta go and actually take a look at what the heck Lenovo did with the photography for that thing. It blows you away. It really does. Alright, so now we move on to the ThinkPad line. Or the ThinkCenter line, I should say. This is the professional line. And right off the bat, we go to the M73Z 20-inch all-in-one. And already I hate this thing. Okay, maybe I don't hate it. Wait, what did they do? Oh, okay. So, I do hate this thing. So this thing is massive for starters. Freaking massive. It looks like it's 4 or 5 inches deep. And it has 2 different stand models. And fortunately, they are interchangeable. You have either the design they have in the first picture here, which is this supporting bar viewing down at the bottom, which is just ugh. Just ugh. Don't do that. Or you can have a normal monitor stand on it. Which, that I like a lot more. Their monitor stands are fantastic. They're weighted at the bottom, so the weight is supported. It's adjustable, it's swivelable, it's fantastic. I don't know why you'd even bother with this kickstand crap, other than the fact that it's cheaper. Oddly enough, you do have a PS2 port on there. You have 2 of them. So for those of you who want to use your old school 1990s IBM keyboard, you can still do it on here. You even have a DB9 serial port for all of your whatever the heck we use nowadays uses those that hasn't gone obsolete. Seriously, DB9? Who woke up one day and said, yes, I need DB9 still on my all-in-one? Now, before you flood my emails with me insulting DB9, I do know quite a few people who specifically hunt me down, having me try to find them the most modern laptop I can with a DB9. And the reason being is that those people access a lot of high-end machinery on the go for diagnostic purposes, gas pumps, etc., etc., etc. On laptops, I get it. Because you're just out in the field, you hook up your cable to the gas pump and then do your diagnostic work on there or whatever. This is an all-in-one. Do you really need something to be hooked up to industrial ancient equipment that long? It just doesn't make sense to me. But it's there, if you need it. I guess. Alright, so we move on to the bigger one, which is the M93Z. Oh, actually, let me quickly take a look at the process on the other one. It starts at a Celeron. It's all 4th gen. That's all. This other one's also 4th gen, so if you're looking at higher end stuff, you're not getting it here. This one also uses a design I hate. Though it kind of bulges out a bit, which somehow actually makes this look thinner than it actually is. If you don't realize it. Oh, actually this one... Ooh, I wonder if the other one does this. So remember earlier how I was saying that HP was the only one that had a design where you could actually get the innards real easily? The Lenovo ThinkCentre, the bigger one, has these 2 little latches, and then the entire back comes off. So you have facing screen down, then you can get out the innards, and right under there you can just see a motherboard with everything exposed there, and then you can just get to work. Unfortunately, I see no other features that lets you adjust it. And just like the other one, you can either A, have a kickstand on there and then hate yourself for all of eternity. Don't do that, by the way, idiot. Or get yourself an actual monitor stand and be a smart person. I think it's pretty obvious where I stand on there. Well, that pretty much does it for the all-in-ones. Which one I would recommend? God, I hate to do it, but I gotta give it to the Inspiron 7000. I really don't want to, but it's the best bang for the buck. I really wish that thing had an SSD option, but there you go. That's probably the best way to go if you're in the PC world. And honestly, just looking at all these, the iMacs actually look a lot better. Just on the performance standpoint. There's some other ones like the, like if you're in the budget, if you're in the high-end budget where a HP Z1 is affordable to you, definitely go for that, because that thing was just like the frickin' Rolls Royce of all-in-ones. That thing was amazing. Actually, Rolls Royce would be the wrong way to put it. That thing was more like a frickin' semi-truck. It was just big. It's there. It's stylish in its own little area. And it's easy as heck to work on. The thing is just a workhorse. I don't know if semi-truck would be the right word term either. This goes back to my first topic, where analogies don't work. I didn't even do this on purpose. It just kind of happened. Anyway, one last thing I want to talk about that I came across while doing my research, and that is the Idea Center Stick. No, this isn't something dirty. This is a computer the size of a flash drive. What this does is that you take off the cap and you have basically what looks like a big flash drive with an HDMI port on the end. You plug it into anything you want, and by going onto that HDMI area, you've got a computer. You basically turn a TV into a computer right then and there, or a monitor, or whatever you have that uses an HDMI port. You've got a micro SD card slot on there. You've got 32 gigs of eMMC SSD memory on there. You've got an Intel Atom quad-core chip on there, 1.3 gigahertz. You got 2 gigs of RAM on there. Now, granted, this is not the fastest thing in the world, but it's an interesting idea. To be able to just go out and just take a small little TV and for $100 more, turn it into an all-in-one on the cheap. That even if the all-in-one breaks down, you can just pop up the micro SD card, swap out the stick, and just be back in business. That is really fascinating, isn't it? This is something that I want to keep an eye on down the road, because this is really, really cool. Now, Lenovo is dumb on this, because one thing, let me just read off what the highlighting features are. The affordable, powerful, pocket-sized PC transforms any TV or display into a PC. Ideal for media, gaming, and web browsing. Lightweight and portable device for carrying anywhere. Highly connectable with a choice of accessories. Fast, responsive processing power. There are quite a few things I have a big problem with there. For starters, you are not using this thing for gaming. Stop lying. That is not happening. You are not using this thing for gaming, no matter how hard you try. Stop that. No. I don't even care if the gaming is just Bejeweled. No. Maybe you get RO running, but that's about it. The other problem I have is fast, responsive processing power. It's just an atom. By the end of the day, that's all it is. It's going to be sluggish. It's not going to be very fast, but it's going to get the job done, and it's going to get the job done adequately. Plus, you're not going to be able to tell me that you're going to have fast, responsive processing power when you're on 2 gigs of RAM on an OS that needs 3. It's going to be in swap right away. The end. Now, normally on something like this, I'd go, well, why the heck aren't there 4 gigs of RAM in this thing? On the other hand, it's a computer the size of a flash drive. Adding another 2 gig chip on there? That can be really difficult. I'm actually very curious as to what the guts are in here. What the chip layout is and how they pulled this nonsense off. It's really cool. And I know Intel's done one too, but to see someone else try to up the game like this by adding a micro SD card slot, which on something this small takes up a lot of space. Like a lot. This is going to be very interesting down the road. And also that this one is running just off. Actually, let me double check something here quick first. As far as I understand, this thing is just running off the HDMI. Oh, and it does have a full USB on here too. Whoa. So you could have a flash drive on here too, in addition to this other stuff. Yeah, like every picture just shows it running off just the HDMI, but it's got a micro SD, not a micro SD, a micro USB slot on it. Usually those are used on these sort of devices to power it. Oh, excuse me. So if these things just run off the power that HDMI provides, that is really cool. But I seriously doubt that's the case. Anyway, that's it. I'm out of time. And, well, Merry Christmas for starters. The other thing is that we will have an episode, more likely a shortened one, on Christmas week. Just something to kind of talk about something. I don't know. I usually find something to talk about, even when it's just like, oh God, what do I do? The week after that, for the New Year's week, we will be doing a full prediction show. And normally I try to keep these things to an hour. I don't care what I do to that clock. I am just going to go through and rattle off as many predictions as I can. I want to at least get my Apple predictions out of the way. I'll try to get a few other ones out, and we'll see what goes on from there. Anyway, take care everyone, rest well, and have a very Merry Christmas. Again.